Welcome to Haunt Tech Tips, the source for technical advice to take your haunted attraction to the next level. Here's your host, Chris Gay.
Welcome back, everyone. This week's topic is DMX and how you can use it to control various effects in your haunt. Before we get started, just want to mention we have a couple classes coming up at the National Haunters and Halloween Convention in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Friday, May 18th, we have a general class on haunt AV, IT, security, so on and so forth. We'll have various tools of the trade there, some different projectors, some different security cameras, things like that, so you can get a hands-on look and see what things are all about. If you stick around after the class, I'm also happy to help out teaching, making coax ends, Cat5 ends, things of that nature. So, hope to see you there for that class. Also, on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., Sunday, May 20th, again at the National Haunters Convention, we're teaching a bleeding control class, which focuses on violent incidents that transpire at haunted attractions or seasonal events. Really any large event with a lot of people. Things can happen. It doesn't have to be a terrorist incident. It doesn't have to be an active shooter. Simple things such as a incident in the parking lot or a overturned hay wagon on a hayride. These things unfortunately have happened, and having a plan for that is massive, because if people are on your property and they are counting on you to take care of them. And as they say, when seconds count, 911 is just minutes away. So, 2 classes we'll be teaching at the Haunters Convention. We'll definitely be at the Haunters Convention all weekend. There's a meet and greet Thursday night that we'll be at. I'm going on the Eastern State Penitentiary bus tour, actually running the tech for the costume ball Saturday night, and the tech for various classes, so hope to catch up with everyone there. We'll be around the show the whole time. We also are hoping to be at Midwest Haunters Convention. Unfortunately, apparently we put in our proposal for classes a little too late. Put that in March, and they were already full. We'll be trying to do the Stop to Bleed class there in 2019. Hoping nothing happens this year to people that could use it in 2018. I thought it would be a little bit of a higher priority class, but, well, we're getting the word out as best we can. Also, if anyone is interested in that class that can't make it to the Haunters Convention, just reach out. I'm happy to. Can't teach it fully with the certification, not in person, but I can definitely do webinars, things like that for you, for your people, just to get an awareness level going. So on to DMX. So DMX stands for digital multiplex. It's not a new technology by any means. It was made in 1986. It is a data control, usually for theatrical lighting, although it's moving into the DJ world, and it's now in the haunt world. It's a type of wire and cabling. It's a standard used to control lighting, effects like fog machines, snow machines, dimmers that can dim lighting. So a dumb light that has no onboard electronics, if it's a incandescent, or a dimmable LED, you can dim a light that way. There's relay switches, so it's just a on or off switch. There's also various different DMX items out there that are controlled by it, be they moving headlights, be it a fog jet, or really anything stage related that is triggerable. It's not for pyro, large motors, like moving set pieces, things of that nature, because it's not a life safety rated communication standard. It's rare, but you can get some glitches on it from interference. There's no error checking on the line. So, long story short, there's this weird thing called ghosting. You usually don't see it nowadays, but on older systems, or I used to do work in a high school theater, and their dimmers, there was just glitches occasionally pop up. It's called ghosting. A light will just flash on and off. Obviously, you would not want a pyrotechnic or a motor to flash on and off. But things like fog machine, snow, light, so on and so forth, that's not so big of a deal. Again, that's rare, but it can happen. So, again, just don't put your pyro or anything dangerous on DMX Control. The DMX cables are tough cables. The standard made in 86 is 5-pin, but nowadays mostly you're going to see 3-pin. And DMX cables and XLR cables are very similar. I'll tell you a little bit of the differences shortly. You can run up to 1800 foot of DMX cable. You'll probably never go anywhere near that far, but it is capable if you were to need to for some reason. Now that we've established the basics, DMX is a format used to control lighting or different stage effects. One DMX connection is a 512 channel universe. Universe is just a way of saying this is a single set of DMX channels. Some more economy devices don't feature a full 512, but a standard DMX controller, that's what you'll see. Most DMX devices you can address anywhere from 0 to 512. There are high-end controllers out there that have more than one DMX universe. So you're looking at 1024 channels, so on and so forth. However, those are very expensive for the most part, or computerized, and it's doubtful in a haunt situation you would ever need that many channels. Where you'll end up needing those channels is because fixtures have different numbers of channels that they use. A very basic fixture, per se a strobe light, might only have one channel, and that channel will adjust the speed of the strobe light. More complex fixtures, you could have an LED red, green, blue, amber, white, UV fixture. Each one of those colors is going to have its own channel for the brightness of that color. There may also be a channel for flash speed. There may be a channel for patterns that are pre-built into the unit. So it may be that on that channel, the first 10% is a flashing pattern, the next 10% is a fade pattern, the next 10% is so on and so forth, different patterns. There are gobos that can go into certain intelligent fixtures. A gobo is a little metal or glass, or in some cases now plastic disc. The plastic ones are mostly reserved for LED lights. They don't produce as much heat. But these are either shadow or transparency devices that cast an image. It can just be a shadow, basically laser cut metal. The glass and plastic ones can have colors to them. They can even have some 3D effects, so on and so forth. And this can project images on the wall, ceiling, wherever you want the light to be pointing. Again, the intelligent fixtures, moving heads are usually called, have pan, tilt, and zoom. Each one of those will be a channel. There's focus on some of those lights, usually the higher end ones. That would be a channel. Zoom and focus, two separate things. Some fixtures may put both into one channel and automate it, but not always. Fog machines and other effects, they'll have their activation or delay timers as channels. Dimmer packs and relay packs. A dimmer pack, each outlet or each set of outlets will have its own channel. Relay packs, it could be one channel per outlet. It might be sets of outlets again. You may even see LED red, green, blue, white multi-output dimmer packs, meaning that each individual fixture coming off of it has up to 4 channels or more that control each the red, green, blue, and white output, or whatever color you wire to it. You could have, as long as it's a 4-channel LED, hook it up however you like, although, again, if it's a red, green, blue, amber, white pack, you're going to see different labels, so just keep that in mind when you're putting everything together. These give you a huge amount of control over multiple different fixtures. Again, these started out as stage and production equipment. Although the technology is becoming much more widely accessible, a lot of DJs are starting to use it, especially the higher end DJs, club DJs. Well, a club situation, usually it's a pre-installed system and there's just a control board for the DJ there, or sometimes it's just sound active. That's something else DMX can control. It can sometimes set units or lights to sound active mode or not. But you'll also see some DJs are carrying their own moving headlights and some fancier things nowadays, especially wedding DJs. They'll have the uplights around a room, which a little different way of lighting than we do. It's more architectural, but they can control that. They can make it single colors, they can make it color fade, they can match the bridal party colors, they can even make it sound active when it comes party time at the end of the night. You'll see that devices that are DMX capable are going to have a DMX in and a DMX out plug. The in is a male, the out is female. Some devices actually have a master mode, so they can control other devices, and you don't actually have to have a controller. Per se, you have flat par lights, or any sort of, we'll just say, simple LED light, moving head, so on and so forth. If you set one into master mode and then set a program to run, anything that's plugged in downstream from that, so from the out DMX from that device and on, that's set to slave mode, will do whatever that first fixture does. In the case of moving headlights, there's even options out there to mirror them or have it follow with a slight delay. That way you can achieve very neat effects. Again, lighting companies typically have their own standards, so if you are buying a lot of lights that you want to play with and have them work together, try to get the same models or at least the same manufacturers. In general, when you're setting up a DMX system, it's always going to be a daisy chain system. The controller or master DMX device will be the first device in line, and the last device will be the most distant from the controller, or however you have things run. But there's no Y cables or T taps, anything like that for DMX. It is a daisy chain from the controller to device, and at the end of the line, it's recommended to use a terminator. It's just a resistor between the data pins. It's a small device that looks like an XLR plug with no wire coming out of it. These are cheap. You can find them all over Amazon. DMX devices can work without the terminator in place. Some of them actually automatically terminate within the fixture. However, without it, it can introduce interference or glitches into the system. It's better to just have the terminator in place. You will see out there people that use XLR cables in place of DMX, or DMX in place of XLR. The real difference is when it's 3-pin, which is the most conventional XLR cable and DMX cable that DJs are using. DMX cables are just shielded better. They're made for data. As a result, they need the shielding. With audio, you may get a pop, a hiss, some fuzz, hum, things like that. But on a data line, interference can actually do some crazy things. So DMX cables are shielded better. Often, if you buy from a company like AccuCable, the DMX cables have black anodized aluminum ends, as opposed to the silver ends that you'll see on XLR cables. In a pinch, if you're doing an audio setup and you only have DMX cables or you're short on XLR cables, DMX cables will carry your audio, although they're typically a little bit more expensive than XLR, and it's best really just not to mix your cables. If you're really stuck, you can use XLR for DMX connection, but again, be ready, there may be interference. One of the harder limitations of DMX is that due to signal strength, you can only have 32 devices per daisy chain. However, there is a fix for this, which is a DMX splitter. They are not the cheapest things, but they do a couple things for you. If you have more than 30 devices, they're great to use because they split and amplify the signal. Or if you have a lot of devices, you can now do a star pattern. So you run a DMX line from your controller out to the splitter, and then the splitter will give you 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different DMX lines you can split out, and each one of those can support up to 32 devices. Again, remember, you still only have one DMX universe. The splitter is just a isolating splitter so that the various outputs are each individual, but they do come back and communicate on that same one 512 channel DMX universe you have. Splitter just basically, I would almost call it a signal amplifier. It's not really amplifying your signal, it's just preserving it so it doesn't get lost by going through too many devices or too long of a run. How does all this apply to us haunters? Fright Props, I'm sure you've all heard of them. They have DMX capable boo boxes and Pico boo devices now. These will play back pre-recorded DMX sequences when triggered. Certain ones will also do audio and other prop controls. These are very likely the best application for haunters. I'm actually designing a scene for this year integrating DMX because I recently came across a Chauvet geyser, which is a fog machine that shoots fog about 20 foot in the air in a jet. It lights it, and it's triggerable. So as soon as you trigger it, the light and fog turn on and start going. It looks like a pyro effect, although you can do it in various colors. And as soon as you release, it stops. This makes for a great scare if you're doing a decon room or if you're doing an entryway and you want it to look like you have fire jets. However, there's two ways to control it, either by remote, which involves human control, or by DMX. So my plan is to pick up a Fright Props DMX boo box. Long story short, the scene will trigger, the soundtrack will play off of the boo box, the lighting will play off of the boo box. I'm still not determined if I'm going LED or if I'm going to use a DMX capable light. But then once the time comes and the soundtrack, it will trigger the geyser through DMX. There are various DMX lights that would be great for haunters. There are IP lights out there, meaning environmentally sealed lights. They're being sold for DJs, they're being sold for stage events, so on and so forth. And if you have a trail haunt, outdoor shows, these are great. Frankly, if you have an indoor haunt, there are a lot of very inexpensive LED lights that are DMX capable that are popping up on eBay and Amazon. They're Chinese made, they're not the highest grade devices out there. Just make sure they're UL listed, make sure they're CE, and if it's from a reputable seller, you can get some impressive control over these lights that are selling for $10, $15, $20 for a LED, RGB, full color mixing par light. And with this, you can do some amazing things with scenes where you can change lighting during a scene or change your scene lighting from year to year. But DMX programming offers a lot. And there are other controllers out there. Companies I'm personally familiar with, American DJ and Chauvet, both make a huge range of controllers. They make control boards, so you have physical sliders ranging from 3 to dozens of channels. The physical sliders are great if you're doing live queuing. Per se, you have a queue line area with entertainment on stage and you want to have some lighting for the stage. That works great. There are PC dongles, basically a USB device that plugs into a computer. American DJ has My DMX Buddy, which is a small little controller, or My DMX 3.0, which is a box that's more full-featured. Chauvet has DJ Express, also a box that's more full-featured, and both of those come with software, so you can make a show, save it, and then play back the show. This Either can be done live control. You can use the sliders on the laptop or computer to live control a show. I don't recommend it. Physical sliders are much better for in-person live control. However, you can also play back your scenes live just by clicking boxes that you've pre-recorded. Or you can set up macros and play back things with timers. So every half hour this will happen. Every 20 minutes that will happen. Again, this does require that if you're doing a stage show or whatnot, that it be very much pre-programmed, pre-scheduled, preset. For us, again, the Fright Props type boo boxes and Pico boos are much more likely what we'll be needing. There are also wireless DMX options out there where you don't have to run the DMX cables from device to device. However, there's several different versions of this out there. There does not seem to be a standard for wireless DMX among the manufacturers. So, again, if you're buying wireless, I'm sure it works great. I've not personally worked with it, but make sure you're getting everything from the same manufacturer to make sure everything's compatible. Some of the wireless are plug-in devices, so a plug-in to your control board or your dongle. Again, just an XLR or DMX end with an antenna on it. And then there's the receivers that plug directly into your devices. Some are built into the lights, but they're totally proprietary. So you have a wireless transmitter that will again plug into your controller or dongle. And then the lights just have a receiver built right into them. But again, if you're doing that, you have to stay with one brand for everything. These seem to be based for DJ use and not the longest ranges. Best if you're using them in a single room or single area. Because again, these are being designed for DJs, not for haunts. For DJs, it's huge because of rapid deployment. If you have an hour to set up a room for audio and lighting, running a DMX data chain isn't exactly ideal. However, if you're a stage technician or a haunt, we can run wire all day long because as long as we don't procrastinate, we have plenty of time for that. DMX devices, you're going to see there's the stage grade and then there's the DJ grade. DJ things are usually a little bit cheaper, although I will say the prices on DJ lighting have been creeping up over the past few years. In large part, they just keep adding more features. The LEDs keep upgrading. They're getting brighter and brighter. And you'll see older DJ lights were all red, green, blue, sometimes even separate LEDs. Now you're seeing red, green, blue, amber, white, UV. So it's a quint LED, and it's all the same diode. And instead of the Gen 1, the little diodes, they're getting into much larger, more powerful, more efficient Gen 3 and some even Gen 4 LEDs. Some of the moving heads even, or searchlight spotlights, are going LED. So the technology's there. It's a little bit more expensive. LED in the long run is probably going to save you some money on lamps and electricity. It is very flexible. And also with LEDs, color changing is so much easier just because you're not putting gels over lights. A gel just being a film that changes the color of an incandescent light. And also the gels, they do dry out due to the heat from older conventional light fixtures. And you will find with especially LED lights and moving headlights that when you're programming them in DMX, they have different or multiple profiles. A profile would be how many channels it takes to control the light. 4 is a frequent profile, just because you'll have one for red, one for green, one for blue, and then one for strobe. 8, 12, 16, some lights can take crazy amounts. I've seen up to 32 some channels on a profile. And again, each one of those channels will be controlling different patterns, different movements. Some channels will even play presets. Per se, you have a moving headlight. It could tell it in preset 14 to face forward and strobe, so on and so forth. Again, this will all be in the manuals for lights. assuming you have the manual. Most of the manuals are online. If you don't have them, there are a lot of used DMX controllers and used DJ lights, even used stage lights out there on the internet. If you look around Facebook, eBay, Craigslist, DJs are gear junkies for the most part, and they're always upgrading the latest greatest. So there are a lot of deals to be had out there. Just make sure when you're buying DMX devices to either get 3-pin or 5-pin across the board. There are adapters out there, but it's just so much easier if you only buy 3-pin wire or 5-pin wire and just be done with it. And again, if you're buying LED or smart fixtures, try to get the same brand across the board, just because it's so much easier to program 20 fixtures that have the same profile versus 5 from American DJ that have a 6-channel profile, and 4 from Chauvet that have an 8-channel profile, and 3 from Dragon X lights that have... You get the idea. If you can be consistent, it's just going to make your life a whole lot easier. And all of this, yes, it is a investment, but the flexibility it offers is massive. You can change the look of a show just by going in with a laptop and reprogramming your Peekaboo controller. You could have a room that was warm now feel cool. A room that was bright will now be dark. You could strobe the lights right when a scare is triggered. You could darken the lights right before a scare is going to go off. Dim and brighten. You can trigger things with the scares. With relay packs, you could use a relay pack to trigger a, again, safe scare device, but you could use a relay pack to trigger a Fright Pops firecracker. And this way you know your actor's not going to be leaving it on for 20-30 seconds and burning it out, because your program in your boo box is only going to trigger that relay pack for 2.5 seconds, and you know it's only going to trigger it for that long. Again, with the fog jets, that's another awesome scare that you can trigger by DMX. And really, you can trigger any fog machine. You could have your fog trigger whenever people enter your scene, when they're in it. You could have it trigger 30 seconds after they leave a scene. So there's a whole lot of control here. It's not full networked control like you've probably seen some of the very high-end controllers coming out, but you still have a lot of capability here, and the price isn't honestly that huge. The BooBox DMX controller, I believe, is a couple $100, but that's your nerve center. You can control a full huge scene with that. The computer controllers, again, very capable, but for the most part, you're going to need someone there to operate and run that. So I would stay with the Fright Props. And I'm sure there's other companies out there. They're just the one I'm familiar with. But their BooBox DMX or the Peekaboo DMX, those are great for haunters. A great place to start. And it's a technology, as you go along, you're going to learn it. Hopefully everything you're buying has little LCD screens on the back for programming. There are DMX dip switch devices out there, and they use binary for the dip switches for addressing. I don't recommend them unless you're good at that, or there are websites you can go to and look up DMX dip switch programming, and they'll show you the numbers and the math. But if you get a little more pricey and get something with an LED screen on it or LCD screen, programming just becomes so very much easier. I strongly recommend going for that, and frankly, they're getting cheap now. But you'll see you can change the look of a show, you can reprogram a scene, you can amp up a scare, you can cool down a scare. But once you invest in this, the sky's the limit, truthfully. There's so much you can do with dimmers, relays, and various DMX controlled fixtures. So that's the basics of DMX. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Again, we always offer consulting. If you want to get deeper into a project, we can help you design a system, point out some devices that will be great and work together. If you have ideas that can help you hash out a scene, how you can make this work for your haunt. Hope to see everyone at the National Haunters and Halloween Convention. It is about 2.5, 3 weeks away now. The spring has flown by. Here in South Jersey, it finally just got warm, and now they're calling for 90s this week. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully the weather will be normalized by the Halloween and Haunters Convention. Hope to see everyone there.
Thanks for listening. Go to haunttechtips.com for show notes and more.